Most of us spend a lot of time looking outside of ourselves for answers that we're always going to have to come from within. Be your own fucking guru. That's what this series is about. I'm Ryan Paul McGuigan. This is Beneath the Noise. This episode is about the lived experience of carrying what I've described so far. If any part of the last 3 episodes has felt like it was describing something you recognize, this one is going to feel closer still. There's a particular quality to it. It's subtle. It's not dramatic. That's the first thing to say. It doesn't feel like a crisis. It doesn't feel like breaking down. It feels more like a low-level flatness that's just kind of there. It's a feeling of, is this it? Days that feel a bit muted, a heaviness or a dullness that sleep doesn't fix. The things that used to genuinely excite you still do a bit, but not quite the same way they used to. The colour has drained a bit. It's a bit grey, a bit drab, a bit beige. The body tends to register it before the mind has found the language for it. A tightness that never fully releases. The sense of wading through something on ordinary days, even when nothing specific is wrong. Tired in a way that a weekend away really doesn't touch the sides. And you come back from holiday and it's all still there, waiting exactly where you left it. And you function fine. That's the thing. That's what makes it hard to name and harder still to justify addressing. From the outside, everything looks the way it's supposed to look. The job is there. The responsibilities are being met. The life is intact. There's nothing to point at, nothing technically wrong. So most people don't point at it. They get on with it. They turn up because that's what they do. But it's a feeling of doing what you do because you have to do it, rather than because you genuinely want to do it, but because the path has momentum and you're on it. Stopping or changing direction feels like a much bigger deal than just continuing. So you continue. There's nothing else for it. You show up out of habit, out of obligation, and somewhere along the line, the distinction between what you actually want and what you've always done gets harder and harder to find. That's the going through the motions. And it's worth saying clearly, it's the felt experience of a life that no longer quite fits the person living it, and a person who's gotten very good at maintaining the appearance that it does. I want to use my own experience here because I think it illustrates something specific about how this works. I was a massage therapist for 15 years. I built a practice from scratch, grew it into something that worked well by any measure. Great clients, a lot of them felt like friends. Busy enough to afford a comfortable lifestyle, foreign holidays, golf memberships, all that stuff. And I genuinely loved the work for a good chunk of that time. But going further back, before the massage business even existed, there was something else sitting in the background. I'd had this idea for a long, long time. I couldn't tell you exactly when it started, but I knew that at some point I'd leave Ireland. Nothing concrete, no plan yet, just a someday kind of thing. Primarily because of the weather, if I'm honest. I didn't know where yet. I thought about Australia, but the visa and immigration situation just meant that Europe would be much less hassle. A place with hot summers, mild winters, a place where life would eventually look and feel very different. It was only a pipe dream to begin. A lot of things would need to be in place first. And as they have a habit of doing, years passed. The business got started and then grew. Life kept moving. But the someday thing never quite disappeared either, especially since the rain and the greyness were never far away and served as constant reminders that I didn't want to live like this forever. Then, as the business continued to grow and I was fully booked weeks in advance, the physical demand of the work started to kick in. Deep tissue massage compounds in the body over years. My hands and wrists were taking the hit. Eventually there were days and then weeks when they were still sore the following morning. A night's sleep wasn't fixing it. I knew with increasing certainty that another 10 years of this was going to be absolutely out of the question. Looking back, it was actually a form of gradual burnout, but I have to admit, I didn't face it properly when I should have. And the reason I didn't is worth saying out loud, because I think a lot of people are in the same position. Everything else was genuinely great. I felt valued. I was doing work that mattered to people and to me. The lifestyle was comfortable. There was enough that was right to make the one thing that was wrong easier to set aside, to keep on the back burner, to tell myself I'd figure it out eventually. So I managed it. Adapted the treatments, cut from 4 days to 3, and just kept going. And the thing about that is, on the later weeks, on the weeks when the hands were holding up, on the days that they weren't so demanding, it was easy to let it go quiet again. The urgency would recede, life would pull you forward, and you'd get dragged along. Another bit further down the road before it got loud again. And that's how this tends to work. It's not a constant volume. Some weeks it was there in the background, barely audible. Then a run of heavy bookings and the hands suffering for it. And suddenly it was right there at the forefront again, impossible to ignore. And then it would quieten down again. And you'd just tell yourself, it's not so bad. And you'd keep going. The going through the motions had set in well before I'd admitted that to myself. I was still showing up, still doing great work by all external measures, but I just lost my love for it somewhere along the line. And what was left was mostly obligation and routine. It got to the stage where I was wishing my days away, which is absolutely terrible. Some people know what's wrong, and they're still carrying it. That's its own thing, and the series comes back to it. But there's another group, and it's a big one, where the experience is different. The misalignment is felt clearly, but the source can't quite be named. Everything looks good on paper. They have all or most of what they've been working towards all their adult lives, but something still feels off. And the mind goes to work trying to find out what that is and resolve it. Cue the thinking. And then more thinking. More turning it over. More going over the same ground. Why am I not happy? I should be happy. What's wrong with me? What's the problem here? What is it that I actually want? What's important to me now? What would need to change for things to feel better? What should I do? Those types of questions keep coming back. The person is genuinely trying, but the thinking is going in circles and not landing anywhere. Not landing for long, at least. You can think about these things for months or even years and arrive back at the same place you started. The same questions, the same absence of clear answers, the same low-level exhaustion from a process that's using a lot of energy without producing any proper resolution. And the quality of it is particular. It's always in the background. Some days it's quieter, some days it's louder. Something happens, a conversation, a birthday, a Sunday evening with nothing to distract you, and it comes right to the front. And then you're busy again and it recedes, but it doesn't go away. It's just waiting for the next quiet moment or trigger to surface again. The thinking isn't the problem, by the way. The thinking is the mind doing what the mind does best, trying to solve problems through analysis. The issue is that the answers to some of these questions don't live at the analytical level. What do you actually want? What genuinely matters to you? Those are questions the thinking mind can't answer on its own, because the answers don't come from there. They come from somewhere deeper, and the thinking can't reach where they live, so it just keeps circling above it, getting nowhere. Why that's the case, and what changes when you can actually reach that level, is where the series ends up. That's not for this episode, but the recognition matters now. The circling isn't a failure of effort or intelligence. It's a mismatch between the tool and the task. Before we go any further, I want to name something directly, because this episode would be incomplete without it. Everything I've been describing, the gradual drift, the going through the motions, the low-level flatness, the thinking that circles. That's one way people arrive at this place. It's the most common way. Years of quiet accumulation, no single moment to point to, just a slow divergence between the person and the life they're living. But there's a second route, and it's not gradual at all. A redundancy, a relationship ending, a health scare that reframes everything overnight, children leaving home and the active parent role suddenly gone, a business collapsing, a milestone not reached at the age it was supposed to be reached, something that had been given the life its shape, something that had been providing the sense of who you are strips away suddenly. So the experience of that is completely different in how it arrives and how it feels. There's nothing quiet about it. The ground goes from underneath you, and you're left standing in the middle of what's left, wondering who you actually are without it. I know that experience, not as an observer. I have lived both the gradual drift and the more acute version. And that's where we're going next. Thanks for listening to Beneath the Noise. If something in this landed for you, pass it on to someone you think could use it. And the next episode is there when you're ready.